So when you're with your friends and you're eating and you look across the table and you notice that your friend right here on this tooth has a big green something stuck on there, does that bother you? Okay. How many of you don't say anything? You just let them keep it. Who's that? That just let them, you're too awkward. Okay. How many of you are like, you got something in your teeth? Okay, you tell them, you tell your friends. Okay, good. You need to tell them. You can't just let your friend walk around like that all day. Like their zipper's undone, and you just let them stay undone all day. There's sometimes something needs to bother you, and you need to say something. There have been lots of things that people do that bother me, and sometimes I just can't keep my mouth shut. I just have to say something. I was on a cruise, and I went to get a drink of Dr. Pepper, yeah, okay. And so I went to get my Dr. Pepper fix, like the fifth one of the day. It was about, 9 a.m., 9 o'clock, no. I went to go get a Dr. Pepper, and ice cold, delicious Dr. Pepper is my favorite. And so I go up to this counter, and I bought the soda package so I can have unlimited, okay? And I asked for my drink, and I get it, and I look, and it just looks a little funny, and I'm not sure, and so I take a drink, and I'm like, this is the nastiest Dr. Pepper I've ever had. And no, it wasn't Coke. That would be even worse. But so I take it back to the counter, and I said, this is gross. What is wrong with this? Can I have another one? And so she grabs the 2-liter that they were pouring them out of, and she opens it. And when you open a 2-liter of Dr. Pepper, it's supposed to make a sound, right? You know that sound, that delicious? She opens it. It was like opening a water bottle. And I said, there's no fizz. How is there no fizz? And she says to me, she says, well, we left them all open so that the fizz would come out and we could pour them faster. I looked at this lady and I said, you find an unopened Dr. Pepper for me right now. And she did, because I was like, that is wrong. I have been told her, that is wrong. That is gross and wrong. Throw them away, okay? I don't know that lady, but that was wrong, okay? There's some things that they bother you because they're wrong. My sister, I looked over one day and she was eating pickles. I like pickles, but she was dipping it in chocolate pudding. And I was like, that's wrong, okay? You cannot do that. It's wrong. And sometimes you just have to tell people it's wrong, okay? You cannot continue doing that kind of a thing. So I want to talk to you about something that bothers me, okay, that I think is just wrong, okay? Something that we need to talk about, and a lot of times when I'm talking to people that are Christians, if you consider you're a Christian, this might be you, if you consider yourself a Christian, I'm talking to Christians or looking at them or encountering them, and it seems that they are oftentimes not any different than somebody that's not a Christian. Like somebody that believes in Jesus doesn't talk any different, act any different, seem any different than somebody that doesn't believe in Jesus. And now, if you're not a Christian, you probably, that's one of the things that annoy you about Christians, is they talk about how other people need to do things different, and then they don't do anything different. And I agree with you, that's annoying, and that's not right. And it's one of those things that I'm like, that's just wrong, okay? It's like pickles and chocolate pudding. It's gross, okay? Flat Dr. Pepper. It shouldn't be. And so I want to talk about how we're supposed to be different. I think we are supposed to be different. If you consider yourself a Christian, you should be different. Not like, oh, I'm better than everybody else. But but we're different. And we should talk different. We should act different. We should live different. And what really bothers me is that a lot of times you or Christians have the same results, the same problems, the same relationship problems, the same struggles, the same things as people that don't believe. In fact, we're supposed to have peace, but we have stress. We're supposed to be free from addictions, and yet we're still addicted. We're supposed to have joy, and yet we're depressed. And we have the same outcomes because we live the same lives, and we're supposed to be different. I don't want to be normal. I want to be different. Now, not weird. I'm not talking about being weird, okay? I mean, you don't have to, wear a bright orange shirt that says Jesus on it every day, okay? I mean, that would let people know you're different, but you don't have to do that, okay? You can if you want, but it's probably weird. I'm not talking about being weird. I'm talking about being different. And so there's this verse in the Bible we're going to talk about this for the next few weeks and what it means and how to live it out. And this guy named Paul was writing, and he wrote this, and he said in Romans 12:2, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, when I see this word conform, I think of something. It's one of my favorite toys in the world? Play-Doh. I love Play-Doh. Okay, Play-Doh, I love it the way it feels in your hand when you squeeze it and it goes all through. Okay, I love that. I love the way it smells, actually. I love the way it tastes. No, I'm kidding about that. Who's tasted Play-Doh? Oh, I knew it. It's so hard not to try it. Okay, so I went to the store and I just bought a whole bunch of Play-Doh, all the same color. So one thing that's cool about Play-Doh, or interesting, I guess, maybe not cool, but Play-Doh will conform if you want it to a shape. Like right now, it's conformed to this bowl because I smashed it in there, and I don't even know if I can get it off of this bowl at this point. It's pretty stuck. Okay, there we go. And it will conform to the shape, the pattern of the bowl, right? It's actually still kind of staying that way. And it'll conform to something, but it doesn't have to. We'll talk about that in a second. But it can conform. Now, when this talks about conforming to a pattern, it's talking about conforming to, it says, the pattern of this world. So that is the way that the world, society, maybe culture, maybe media, maybe TV, maybe politicians, maybe whatever. It could be whatever. However they say to live life, what to do, how to live your life. He's saying, don't conform to that. They may say, okay, this is what's acceptable. This is what's okay. This is how you should do. This is how you should treat somebody that treats you wrong. This is how you should talk. This is how you should live your life. He's saying, don't conform to that. And what I like about Play-Doh, okay, it's pretty cool. It will conform, but it doesn't have to. I mean, you can shape it. And if I had a lot of time, I had this class that was really boring. Anybody have one of those classes? Really, really boring? I used to bring Play-Doh to class and make shapes every day. I made like food. I made stuff that went with the lesson. I just made shapes. So some of you got a new thing to do. I don't have time to do that today, so I'm just kind of making a sort of cube. I need like a table to smash it on. Anyways, but here's the thing. If I make this, I can set it in the bowl and it doesn't conform. In fact, it will stay like that until it dries and hardens, okay? And it doesn't have to conform. We can be in and around culture and people that say to do one type of life and not shape ourselves to that. We can be changed and do it differently. So I want to talk about how to do it differently. And I think you will see that it leads to some really good things in your life. So we want to be different. I don't want to be normal. So there's this really neat thing that happens in Matthew chapter 5. Did anybody bring Matthew? Bring your Bible. If you brought your Bible, turn to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. Okay, so Jesus is talking. He's giving like his most famous sermon. And he's talking, and he says this phrase over and over again. And I found it's really interesting. And we're going to talk about different ones over the course of the next few weeks. But here's one example. He'll say something that everybody agrees with. Christians, atheists, Muslims, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, they'll all agree with this thing, okay, with these statements that he makes. I mean, no matter how polar opposite they are, they'll agree. So here's an example in Matthew 5:21. You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not murder. Now, no one's like, well, I think murder, okay. Everyone agrees. I mean, I hope so with you, okay. If not, maybe we shouldn't be friends, okay? But everybody agrees we shouldn't murder. And then it says that if anyone who murders is subject to judgment. And we agree. Nobody is arguing with that murder is a good thing, okay? Everyone. And so he says this to his audience, okay? You've heard, don't murder. And everybody's like, yep, that's right. And then he says, a little bit later, he says, but I say, anyone who says, you fool, to his neighbor, will be in danger of the fire of hell. So Jesus is like, anybody that looks at somebody and starts talking nasty and mean to them is in danger of hell. And I think everyone that was listening was like, what? And some of you were like, what? Because I was a really big jerk today. And I said some really mean things, okay? And so he's saying, you've heard about this is how the normal way of life. Everybody agrees. Everybody says you can do this. But when saying stuff to people, I mean, as long as you're not bullying, now that's a thing. You can't do that. But as long as you're not bullying, you can be mean. You can say this. You can do this. And Jesus is saying, no, you can't. Not if you want to be different. Not if you want to live this kind of life. No, that's actually not the one we're going to focus on. But that's something to think about for some of you, maybe. He says this, you have heard, and you will agree, you'll probably like what you've heard, okay? He says, you have heard, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Now, you know what that means? That means if somebody pokes you in the eye, you can poke them in the eye, basically, okay? That means if somebody, why are people poking you in the eye? If somebody's a jerk, you can be a jerk back, right? If somebody says bad things about you on Snapchat, you say bad things about them on Snapchat and on Instagram, just to make sure more people see it, all right? So you can, if somebody's badmouths you, you badmouth, they cut in front of the line, you cut in front of the line. If they take your stuff, you take their stuff, okay? And you just get even. And that's what most people like to do. That's what we think. He says, so you've heard eye for eye, tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person, which basically means don't retaliate, don't get even. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Now, this does not mean if you're getting beat up, be like, oh yeah, give me some more. Give me the other side now. All right, hit some more. Okay, that's not what he's talking about. And you can tell that because in other places he talks about defending yourself. It's okay to defend yourself if you're getting beat up. Okay, let me just give you some more of what he says. And if someone wants to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. If someone forces you to go a mile, go with them 2 miles. I mean, if they think I can run 2 miles, it's not going to happen. But anyways, I'm going to pass out about a half mile and a half. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. This is what he's saying. There's this attitude that we have, and I think most people think this is what we should do. Get even. I mean, because it's fair. It's like the American way. It's just, okay? If they did it to me, I can do it back to them. It's fair. I got to make sure that they don't get away with it. I've got to make it even. And that is what we would consider to be, I like to draw or write. So normal. Let's talk about normal. This is what's normal, is to get even. Right? This is normal. So somebody says something bad about you, and you're going to make sure that everybody knows about that thing that you know about them. That's just what normal people do, okay? And now I'm going to be honest with you. For me personally, I like this, okay? Not doing this is very difficult. Monday, I was driving home from school, okay? I drive home late. I get off school at like 8 o'clock, and so it's dark. And I'm driving from South Lake, and this person gets right behind me. Like, you know, people get like a car length away. And they have those new like headlights that are like super bright. Do you know what I'm talking about? And they're just, zzz, and like they're hitting all of my windows, and I'm so annoyed. And I know people slam on their brakes and stuff, and that's too aggressive. So I was sitting there, and I had this idea. You know the wiper fluid that you do on your well, if you're sitting still, it just gets yours. But when you're going 70 miles an hour down the highway, it mostly blows over, and so I just hold it. And so I'm like spraying this guy's car until he goes around. And it was fun. I felt like I got even. But then I realized that's probably not the most Christian thing to do, okay? Because we all like to get even. We all want to do that kind of thing. But Jesus, of course, we're talking about this. We're talking about being different, right? And so he says, if we want to be different, we don't get even. And we'll talk more about what that means in a second. We don't get even, but instead we would do this. We would repay, like the evil thing they did, we're going to repay it with, let's just do that, kindness. Y'all like my cool markers? I know, it's super fun. We repay evil, we repay the wrong that was done to us with kindness. Now, I want to talk for a second about this getting even thing, because I don't know if you've probably never thought it through like this, okay? So when we say I want to get even, somebody has done wrong. So like, here's you and your friend. Let's just say it's you and a friend. And so y'all are pretty even right now. Y'all are nice to each other. Y'all having fun. Okay, so they do something wrong. They do it on purpose. They do it on accident. They say something bad. They forgot. They were insensitive or whatever. And so they've done something wrong. Now you would say they've gone down, right? You have the moral high ground, right? Because they're the one that's done wrong, right? You can kind of see this. They've gone down. So you want to get even. What do you have to do to get even? You have to go down. In other words, this is the thing I hate. I hate that they did this. I cannot believe they would say that. I cannot believe that she would do that. So I'm going to do it so I can get even, okay? Now, the very thing that we hate, we do to get even. We bring ourselves down to the level of what we said we didn't like. That's the only way to get even. Now, most of the time, we don't want to actually get even. We want to go a little further, all right? that feels even better. It's like, I really got them. And we actually have lowered ourselves down even further than that. Now, when you think about relationships and friendships, this is how you destroy a great friendship. Someday, maybe you'll be married. And this is how you destroy a marriage, okay? You're in a relationship. You're in a friendship. Somebody does something wrong. Maybe by accident. Maybe they were having a bad day. They got up on the wrong side of bed. I don't know, but they do something wrong. Now, right now, you have a decision to go down, to get even, to hurt them back. And what does that do to a friendship? The friendship is going down, because I'm going to tell you how they're going to perceive it, that you went down here. Even if you're like, I didn't even do it as bad. They're going to perceive it down here. So what are they going to do? Get even, and they're going to keep going. And this is how you destroy a friendship. You can take a great friendship and destroy it that way. A great relationship and destroy it that way. But let's talk about one other thing. So we would say, well, she did this bad thing, so I did the bad thing. She said something really awful, so I said something awful. She or he gossiped, so I gossiped. Now, just take off the first half. I did something awful. No, wait, you have to say she did something awful, so it's not so bad when I say I did something awful. No. Just between you and God, because God's going to deal with him, God's going to deal with her. I did something bad. I cussed her out. I stole it. Okay, now, but that's the thing, you can't just, yes, you can, because God doesn't look at them and what they're doing, and he's going to deal with them and make that just. He looks at you, and we would say, well, it's okay because they did it, but you are damaging your character by saying, they did it, so I did it. Just take that first half off and be honest with yourself. I was a jerk. They were a jerk first. I don't care. You were a jerk. That is a fact. You were, if you lower yourself down there. Now, here's the thing. There is another option. Besides getting even, we can be very, very different, because this is not normal. This is not what people do. Most people do not repay evil with kindness. When somebody does wrong to them, when someone is a jerk, people don't be nice back, maybe do nothing back, but be kind back, that is extremely not normal. Now, we talked about relationships. You see, if you're in a friendship or relationship with somebody and they do something wrong, but you do something kind, I'm going to tell you what it does. It gives them the opportunity to then come back, ask for forgiveness, to do something kind, and for the relationship to be restored. But as long as you're trying to get even, it's never going to get restored. But I want to think about something even greater than that, because it would certainly change your relationships. But think about this. What if we decided that we were going to look like Jesus? Think about this. Jesus on the cross, whipped, right? Bloody face, nails. He looks down at the people that did it to him. Do y'all remember what he says? He says, Father, forgive them. What? Because if you were on the cross, right, you'd be like, Father, smite them now, okay? And then all of them just die, and you're like, yes, okay? I mean, I'm you personally, I'd be like, God, give them eternal diarrhea starting this moment. They're like all, okay, that would be just, I'd be like, worth it. Okay, so that's how we would act, but that's not how he acted. The very people that just did that horrible thing to him, and he says, Father, forgive them. And somebody said something about you, and you're like, I'm going to, okay, and you're so mad, and you're posting all this junk online and doing all this, and here's what we're supposed to do. If we want to be different, you could be like everybody else, or you can be different. And you can say, you know what, they did wrong to me, but I'm just going to be kind back. When I was in high school, there was this person that she would just say like really hateful things in front of a lot of people, like yell at me and say I was awful and do all this in front of people. And it was really tempting to, go back, just, you can do that to me, I'll do it to you. But every time I would just smile, usually be quiet, I would say, hey, I'm sorry I upset you, or hey, whatever, and just I'd be calm and this. And then she would storm out of the room, and everyone would look at me and they would go, you're nice. and they would say stuff like, she's a jerk. Because now if she was a jerk, now what would happen if I just started yelling back? I'm also a jerk, okay? But instead, people saw me as the one that was nice, the one that was kind back, that didn't respond. I wasn't the jerk. And so it it not only, well, people will see you different, but you'll be different. It'll change your relationships, and it would let people see something is different about Christians. Think about this. If we would do this, just this one little thing, we would be transformed. Your life would be transformed. And honestly, the world would be transformed. What if when somebody talked about a Christian, they thought, they're the nicest people. Do you know what I did to her? And you know what she did back? She said something nice. I posted this picture of her online and said how much of something she was, okay? And then she got on my profile and commented something really nice. She went on my last picture and said how pretty I was. I cannot believe she did that. I was such a jerk. Now, what if the people just started seeing, every time I'm mean to a Christian, they could say, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in Jesus, but Christians are the nicest people I've ever met. They're the most forgiving people I have ever met. That would be amazing. That would change the world, because suddenly people would see that there's something different about people that follow Jesus. There should be, and there can be. You can be different, and it will change your life. It would change the world, but it'll change your life. You will start to have friendships that last longer. Some of you go through friends and you struggle with friends. A little bit of turning the other cheek, forgiving, being kind even though they were wrong can save many, many friendships and change you. Would you be willing to be different? Would you be willing to be kind when someone is a jerk? You do realize that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about being kind when somebody's nice to you. That's normal. Being kind when someone's not nice is different. So I challenge you to be different. We're going to end tonight with just a moment of prayer, because I know some of you have things that you would like to pray about. And if you've got something going on at school, you've got something going on at home, and you want someone to pray with you, we're going to take a moment to do that. And if you know, though, that, okay, this is really hard for me because I always want to get even. And you think of the good stuff, you're like putting stuff in their locker, and you're like, stealing their phone and changing like the password. You're getting even. I don't know. You're just good at getting even. And you need to change. You could be different, and you want to be different. Why don't you pray with somebody and ask them to believe with you that you're going to change and see something happen in you. Let's be the people that show the world Jesus, that show the world that we can be different.